The Discovery, the cargo hold of the wandering star, hummed with the steady rhythm of recycled air and distant engine noise. Captain Maya Chen pressed her palm against the cold metal wall and closed her eyes, letting the familiar vibrations ground her. 12 years of flying freight runs between the outer colonies, and she still couldn't shake the habit of listening to her ship's heartbeat. Another delivery completed, she muttered to herself, checking the manifest on her wrist display. Medical supplies to the mining colony on Titan's Edge. Construction materials to the research station orbiting Proxima 7. And now she was heading back to Kepler's Rest with a hold full of rare earth metals. It was honest work, steady work. But it wasn't the life she had planned. Maya had once been a decorated pilot in the Earth Defense Force, flying escort missions and reconnaissance runs along the contested borders of human space. That was before the disappearance, before the sleepless nights and endless searches, before she traded her military commission for a freight hauler's license and the freedom to chase ghosts across the galaxy. The communication console chimed softly, pulling her from her thoughts. "Wandering Star, this is Kepler's Rest Control. You're cleared for docking at Base 7. Commander Harrison wants to see you in his office as soon as you're plated side." Maya frowned as she guided her ship through the asteroid field surrounding the mining station. Commander Harrison rarely called for face-to-face meetings unless there was a problem. She hoped it wasn't about the modifications she'd made to her ship's sensor array. The enhanced long-range scanners weren't exactly standard equipment for a cargo hauler. But Maya had learned long ago that sometimes you had to bend the rules to find what you were looking for. Kepler's Rest clung to the side of a massive asteroid. Like a metallic parasite, its docking bays and habitat modules extending deep into the rock. It wasn't much to look at, but it had become home over the past 5 years. The miners were good people, hard-working and honest, and they didn't ask too many questions about why a former military pilot chose to spend her time hauling cargo instead of fighting aliens. The docking procedure was routine, but Maya's enhanced sensors picked up something unusual as she approached the station. A faint energy signature, barely detectable, pulsing at regular intervals from somewhere beyond the asteroid field. She made a mental note to investigate later and focused on bringing her ship home. Commander Harrison was waiting for her in the station's central hub, his weathered face creased with concern. At 65, Harrison had seen more of the galaxy than most people, serving in both the military and civilian sectors before taking command of Kepler's Rest. He was one of the few people who knew about Maya's past, about the brother she had lost and the search that had consumed 12 years of her life. "Maya, we need to talk," Harrison said without preamble. "There's something you need to see." He led her through the station's winding corridors to the communication center, a cramped room filled with monitoring equipment and signal analysis computers. A young technician named Rodriguez looked up as they entered, his eyes wide with excitement and concern. "Show her what you found," Harrison instructed. Rodriguez pulled up a display showing signal analysis data, wave patterns dancing across multiple screens. "I was running routine sweeps of the local communication bands when I picked this up," he explained. "It's faint, really faint, coming from somewhere in the Kepler 442 system, about 8 light-years from here." Maya studied the patterns, her heart beginning to race as she recognized something familiar in the signal structure. "That's not a standard distress beacon," she said quietly. "No, it's not," Rodriguez agreed. "The frequency and modulation pattern match something much older, something from about 12 years ago. I ran it through the military database, and well..." He paused, glancing at Harrison nervously. "Tell her," the commander said softly, The signal matches the emergency transponder code for EDF scout ship Silent Arrow, registered to Lieutenant Jake Chen. But that's impossible, right? That ship was declared lost with all hands 12 years ago. The room seemed to spin around Maya as the words sank in. Jake's ship, after 12 years of searching, of following false leads and chasing shadows across the galaxy, someone had finally found a trace of her brother. But the Kepler 442 system was deep in contested space, claimed by the Zephyrian Empire and considered off-limits to human vessels. How long has the signal been transmitting? Maya asked, her voice steady despite the chaos in her mind. That's the strange part, Rodriguez replied. Based on the signal degradation, I'd estimate it's been broadcasting for at least 10 years, maybe longer. But it's so weak that it would only be detectable from relatively close range. We might have missed it entirely if I hadn't been running deep space scans. Maya turned to Harrison, already knowing what she was going to ask. I need to investigate this. Maya, that system is in Zephyrian space, Harrison warned. Catch a human ship in their territory. It's an automatic death sentence. The peace talks have been stalled for months, and tensions are higher than ever. This could start a war. My brother is out there, Maya replied firmly. He's been sending that signal for 10 years, waiting for someone to find him. I can't just ignore it. Harrison studied her face for a long moment, seeing the determination that had driven her for over a decade. Even if you could get there undetected, what makes you think he's still alive? 12 years is a long time. The signal is still transmitting, Maya pointed out. Someone or something is maintaining that beacon. If there's even a chance that Jake is alive, I have to try. The commander sighed, knowing that arguing would be pointless. He had seen that look in Maya's eyes before. The same stubborn resolve that had made her one of the most effective reconnaissance pilots in the ED. What do you need? Fuel, supplies, and a 3-week head start before you report this conversation to anyone, Maya said. The Wandering Star has enough firepower to handle most threats, and her stealth systems should get me in and out without detection. And if you're wrong, if it's a trap or if Jake really is dead. Maya was quiet for a moment, considering the question. Then at least I'll know. I've spent 12 years wondering what happened to him, following every rumor and investigating every possible lead. This is the first real evidence I've found that he might still be alive. I have to follow it, no matter where it leads. Rodriguez cleared his throat nervously. There's something else, he said. The signal isn't just a standard distress beacon. There's additional data encoded in the transmission, but it's heavily encrypted. I've been trying to crack it for hours, but the encryption is military grade, maybe beyond that. Can you isolate the encrypted portion? Maya asked. Already done, Rodriguez replied, transferring the data to a portable storage device. Maybe you'll have better luck with it. Military pilots sometimes have access to decryption keys that us civilians don't. Maya took the device, feeling its weight in her palm like a piece of her brother's soul. Thank you, she said simply. Harrison placed a hand on her shoulder. Maya, I know how much finding Jake means to you, but don't let hope cloud your judgment. The galaxy is full of signals and shadows that look like the people we've lost. Promise me you'll be careful. I promise, Maya replied, though they both knew she would take any risk necessary to find her brother. The next few hours passed in a blur of preparation. Maya restocked her ship's supplies, checked and double-checked her navigation systems, and studied every piece of intelligence she could find about the Kepler 442 system. was a binary star system with 7 planets, mostly gas giants with a few rocky inner worlds. According to the databases, it had been surveyed briefly by human explorers 20 years ago, but was abandoned when the Zephyrians claimed it as part of their expanding empire. As the wandering star prepared to depart Kepler's rest, Maya found herself standing in the cargo hold where she had started her day. The familiar vibrations of her ship felt different now, charged with purpose and possibility. Somewhere out there, across 8 light years of dangerous space, her brother was waiting. The jump to hyperspace was smooth, the ship's modified drive, systems pushing them toward their destination at speeds that would have been impossible just a few decades ago. Maya settled into her pilot's chair and activated the encrypted data Rodriguez had given her, hoping to decode her brother's message. During the long journey, the encryption was indeed military grade, but Maya remembered the protocols from her service days. Jake had always been clever with codes, often embedding personal references that only family members would understand. After several hours of work, she managed to isolate a small portion of the transmission. The decoded fragment was brief but chilling. Discovery changes everything. They don't know what they found, staying dark until safe. Tell Maya the stars remember. The last phrase hit her like a physical blow. The stars remember had been their childhood code, something Jake used to say when they stargazed together as children. It was his way of telling her that no matter how far apart they were, the universe would always connect them. But the rest of the message was troubling. What had Jake discovered that was so important he had to stay hidden for 12 years? And who were they that he was hiding from? The answers would have to wait. The wandering star dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 442 system, her sensors immediately sweeping for signs of life or enemy vessels. The binary stars cast their light across a collection of planets that looked peaceful enough from a distance. But Maya knew that appearances could be deceiving. She engaged her ship's stealth systems and began a careful approach to the inner system, following the beacon signal toward its source. As she drew closer, her sensors detected something that made her heart skip a beat. There, orbiting the system's 4th planet, was a ship. Not a wreck, not debris, but an intact vessel broadcasting the signal that had brought her across the galaxy. The configuration was unmistakably human, matching the design specifications of the EDF scout ship Silent Arrow. Jake's ship was here, and it was whole. But as Maya prepared to make contact, her sensors detected something else. Energy readings unlike anything in her database, emanating from the planet below. Whatever Jake had discovered 12 years ago, it was still here, still active, and still dangerous enough to keep him in hiding. The real mystery was just beginning. The hidden message. Maya's hands trembled as she piloted the wandering star toward her brother's ship. The Silent Arrow hung in space like a ghost from her past, its hull scarred but intact, solar panels still catching starlight after 12 long years. She had imagined this moment countless times, but now that it was happening, she felt overwhelmed by a mixture of hope and fear. Silent Arrow, this is Captain Maya Chen aboard the Wandering Star, she transmitted on a secure frequency. Jake, if you're receiving this, please respond. Silence stretched across the void for what felt like an eternity. Then, crackling through the static, came a voice she hadn't heard in over a decade. Maya, is that really you? The words hit her like a physical force, and she had to grip the control console to steady herself. Jake, oh God, Jake, I've been looking. For you, for 12 years. Are you all right? Are you hurt? I'm alive, came the reply, and she could hear the wonder in his brother's voice. Maya, how did you find me? This system isn't on any of the standard charts. Your beacon, Maya explained, maneuvering her ship closer to the silent arrow. It's been transmitting for years. A technician at Kepler's Rest finally picked it up. Jake, what happened? Why didn't you come home? There was a long pause before Jake responded. I couldn't come home, Maya. What I found here, it changes everything. I had to stay and make sure it didn't fall into the wrong hands. Can you dock with my ship? There's too much to explain over the com. The docking procedure was awkward after so many years apart, but Jake guided her through it with the patience of someone who had nothing but time. When the airlock finally cycled open, Maya found herself face to face with a man who looked much older than his 42 years should have suggested. Jake's hair had gone completely grey, and deep lines creased his face, but his eyes still held the same intelligence and warmth she remembered. Maya, he said simply, and then they were embracing, 12 years of worry and grief melting away in an instant. I never stopped looking, Maya whispered against his shoulder. Everyone said you were dead, but I knew you were out here somewhere. I know, Jake replied, holding her tightly. I wanted to contact you so many times, but I couldn't risk it. The signal I've been broadcasting, it was the only way I could think of to let someone know I was alive without revealing my location. To the wrong people. When they finally separated, Maya got her first good look at her brother's ship. The Silent Arrow had been modified extensively over the years, with additional shielding, enhanced sensors, and what looked like experimental weapon systems. But it was the displays in the main cabin that caught her attention. Jake had turned his scout ship into a mobile research station with computers and analysis equipment covering every available surface. Jake, what is all this? Maya asked, studying the complex diagrams and mathematical formulas covering the screens. Her brother's expression grew serious. It's the reason I couldn't come home, he said. Maya, what do you know about the Kepler 442 system? What brought the Zephyrians here? Maya shrugged. The databases say it was surveyed briefly 20 years ago, then abandoned when the Zephyrians claimed it. Standard territorial expansion, as far as anyone knows. That's what they want everyone to think, Jake said, activating one of his main displays. But the truth is much more complicated. 12 years ago, I was on a routine reconnaissance mission along the border when I detected unusual energy readings from this system. I came to investigate and found something that the Zephyrians have been trying to keep secret. The display showed a three-dimensional map of the system, with the fourth planet highlighted in red. As Maya watched, Jake zoomed in on the planet's surface, revealing a massive structure partially buried beneath the ice caps. It's a weapon, Jake explained quietly. Not Zephyrian, not human, but something much older. The energy readings I detected were coming from deep inside that structure. The Zephyrians found it first, but they can't control it. They've been trying to unlock its secrets for decades. Maya stared at the image, feeling a chill that had nothing to do with the ship's recycled air. What kind of weapon? The kind that could end the war between humans and Zephyrians in a single day, Jake replied. But at a cost that would destroy everything we're fighting to protect. Maya, this thing doesn't just kill people. It unravels matter at the molecular level, turning entire planets into cosmic dust. The Zephyrians call it the World Breaker. In their ancient texts, the implications of Jake's discovery hit Maya like a physical blow. That's why you stayed hidden. If either side got control of that weapon, the war wouldn't just end, Jake finished. One side would commit genocide on a scale that the galaxy has never seen. I've spent 12 years studying the weapon, trying to understand how it works and how it might be stopped. The Zephyrians have been here almost as long, but they're approaching it wrong. They think brute force and superior technology will unlock its secrets. Maya moved closer to the displays, studying the complex diagrams her brother had compiled. But you've found a different approach. I've found its weakness, Jake said, his voice filled with a mixture of pride and fear. The weapon isn't just a machine, it's a living entity. It requires a conscious mind to interface with it, someone willing to sacrifice their own life force to power its systems. The Zephyrians have been trying to control it with artificial intelligence, but the weapon rejects anything that isn't truly alive. So it's unusable? Maya asked hopefully. Jake shook his head grimly. Not unusable, just incredibly dangerous to operate. A skilled pilot, someone with enough mental discipline and willingness to die for their cause, could potentially activate it. The energy cost would kill them almost instantly, but not before they could target an entire star system. Maya felt her blood run cold. Jake, we have to warn Earth's Defense Command. If the Zephyrians figure out what you've discovered, They won't, Jake interrupted, because I'm not going to let them. Maya, I've spent 12 years preparing for this moment. I've developed a way to destroy the weapon permanently, but it requires someone to get inside the facility and manually overload its power core. The meaning behind his words became clear, and Maya grabbed her brother's arm. No, Jake, you're not sacrificing yourself. We'll find another way. We'll get word to the military. Let them handle it. By the time a military response could reach this system, the Zephyrians might have solved the interface problem, Jake argued. I've been monitoring their research, Maya. They're getting closer every day. Someone has to act now, before it's too late. Maya stared at her brother, seeing the same determination in his eyes that had driven her to search for him across the galaxy. Then we'll do it together. I didn't spend 12 years looking for you just to lose you again. Jake smiled sadly. Maya, you have a life to go back to, people who depend on you. I've been alone out here for so long that I've almost forgotten what it means to have something to lose. You have me, Maya said firmly, and I'm not leaving without you. If we're going to destroy this weapon, we do it together, and we both get out alive. That's not negotiable. For the first time in 12 years, Jake allowed himself to hope that he might actually have a future beyond his mission. All right, he said finally, but we do this my way. I know the facility's layout, the guard rotations, the security systems. One mistake and we both die. Over the next several hours, Jake walked Maya through his plan. The weapon facility was heavily guarded, but Jake had identified a weak point in their security. During the planet's day cycle, solar interference disrupted their sensor networks for a brief window. They would have exactly 17 minutes to infiltrate the facility, overload the power core, and escape before the explosion tore the structure apart. The hard part won't be getting in, Jake explained as they reviewed the facility schematics. It'll be making sure the weapon is completely destroyed. The power core has multiple redundant systems. We'll need to disable all of them simultaneously. Maya studied the complex timing requirements, recognizing the kind of precision that had made Jake one of the best scout pilots in the E. This is suicide, she said quietly. Maybe, Jake admitted, but it's the right thing to do. Maya, I've seen what war does to people, to entire civilizations. If this weapon exists, Eventually someone will use it, and when they do, millions of innocent people will die. We have the chance to prevent that. Maya looked at her brother, seeing not just the man who had been her childhood hero, but someone who had grown into something greater during his years of isolation. Jake had become the kind of person who would sacrifice everything to protect strangers he would never meet. "All right," Maya said finally. "When do we go?" "The next solar interference window is in 8 hours, Jake replied. "That gives us time to prepare and make sure both ships are ready for a fast escape." "Maya, there's something else. If we don't make it out, I've prepared a data package with everything I've learned about the weapon. Promise me you'll make sure it reaches Earth defense." "Command." Maya nodded, understanding the weight of the responsibility her brother was placing on her shoulders. "I promise. But Jake, we are making it out, both of us." As the hours passed, Maya helped her brother make final preparations for their mission. They synchronized their ship's systems, checked their equipment, and reviewed the plan until they could execute it in their sleep. But Maya also found time to ask the questions that had haunted her for 12 years. "Why didn't you at least try to send a message?" she asked as they worked. "Just to let me know you were alive." Jake paused in his equipment check, his expression growing distant. "I wanted to," he said quietly. "Every day for the first few years, I composed messages in my head, but I was afraid that if anyone knew I was alive, they might come looking for me and discover the weapon. I couldn't risk it." "You could have trusted me," Maya pointed out. "I know that now," Jake replied. "But 12 years ago, I was thinking like a soldier, not a brother. I convinced myself that protecting you meant staying away from you. I was wrong." Maya reached out and squeezed his hand. "We both made mistakes," she said, "but we're together now, and that's what matters." The time for their mission arrived faster than either of them wanted. As they prepared to leave their ships and begin the dangerous infiltration, Jake pulled Maya aside one last time. "Whatever happens down there," he said, "I want you to know that these 12 years weren't wasted. Every day I spent alone was worth it because I knew I was protecting something important. But having you here now, knowing that I won't face this alone, it means everything to me." Maya hugged her brother tightly, feeling the weight of 12 years of separation finally lifting from her shoulders. "Let's go save the galaxy," she said with a smile that didn't quite hide her fear. Together, they stepped into the transport shuttle that would take them to the surface, ready to face whatever dangers awaited them in the depths of an ancient alien facility. The weapon that had kept them apart for so long would finally bring them together for one last mission. One last chance to prove that sometimes the greatest victories come not from superior firepower, but from the simple human willingness to sacrifice everything for those we love.